All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Sonia Schechter. I'm the CMO for 3D Cloud, and we are the leader in 3D product visualization for the home furnishings industry, supporting clients like La-Z-Boy and Best Home Furnishings. And I want to wish you a good afternoon and thank you for joining us today. So I have a question. Who here wants to sell more furniture and have happier customers? There's a tool for you to raise your hand at the bottom. Yeah, pretty much everyone in the furniture industry wants to grow their business, and that's why, you're here today. So today we're going to walk you through the 3D Cloud Furniture Shopping Trends study for 2026. This is original research by Provoke Insights, and it's based on a survey of 400 recent furniture buyers. We're glad you're here, and we hope you walk away with some valuable takeaways and maybe even a few ideas that you can put to work right away. Consumer expectations and shopping behaviors are changing. As digital experiences become more immersive, tools like 3D visualization are playing an increasingly important role in how people discover, evaluate, and purchase furniture. This research highlights what's changing, where we're seeing the most momentum, and what it means for the industry moving forward. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Carly Fink, president of Provoke Insights. Carly leads a full-service market research firm. She brings over 20 years of experience with a background that includes Harris Poll, Wunderman Thompson, and Gray Advertising, and she's widely recognized for her expertise in market research. In addition to her industry work, Carly taught advertising, strategic planning, marketing, and market research at Baruch College and NYU, and she's a frequent contributor to industry publications and conferences. We're excited to have her here to walk us through the findings. Also, and this is important, we'll save time for Q&A at the end, but any time during the presentation, you can click on the Q&A button in the footer. It says Q&A. And you can type questions into that box as they occur to you during the presentation. So Carly, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sonia. So I'm just going to quickly just bypass this and start out with the methodology, just to understand a little bit about the study that we did today. So this is the third wave of this study. And every year we survey 400 furniture purchase decision makers who have purchased furniture in the last 6 months, who have spent more than $500 on that purchase. Their household income is 50K plus. Their ages are 25 to 69, and they live in the US. Now, just to let you know, there is a lot of, you can see a bunch of other words in here. And basically, what this is saying is that it is representative of the US population. And we also indicate things throughout the report that are statistically significant above 5%. I'm just going to skip the key findings and just let you know, you could download this report at 3D Cloud afterwards, and you can read all of the key findings and all the information that we went through today on their website. Okay, so let's start with the detailed findings. And let's first start about looking at the furniture journey behavior. Now, this is preference. And we're going to see there's a difference between actuality and preference here, which is pretty exciting and interesting to see what people say they want to do versus what they do. And then we're going to look later on why they say they want to do this. And so the first thing is, compared to last year versus this 2026 year, is that previously people said they went onto the website first, a slightly little bit more they preferred, and then they would like to purchase it in store for preference. This year, slightly different, slightly bit of a growth where people said, you know what, I first want to visit it in store and then maybe purchase online. This is not necessarily reality. This is their preference. And we'll go a little bit why they are saying this versus reality, which shows that they are really even though they say they want to buy it online, a lot of people are actually still buying it both in store and online. The process is that hybrid process is still happening. Even with a slight increase from 31 from last year to 33% this year, purchasing it in store. So there really is this true hybrid mixed way that we see people buying. We also see that in store still is when you spend at least 22.5K or more, that you're much more likely to be purchasing that in store versus online. We also see the slightly older audience purchasing it in store more often as well. So it's really interesting to see this dynamic. And when they are looking to buy and sort of furniture discovery process, in store still plays a vital role. 37% of people say that the discovery process still happens in store. And if you could get them in store, what ends up happening is they're more likely to purchase in store. So we say that people who purchase in store are much more likely to discover in store as well. So there is sort of this thing is getting them in store while they might still buy it online, there's a higher chance of them purchasing in store. We also see that website is afterwards a big discovery process, especially for 50 plus, which this is kind of interesting now, is that discovery via websites is for when I say slightly older, I'm almost there, 50, but 50 plus review sites are slightly younger, 35 to 49. And then the youngest audience, that emerging audience, is really using social media and YouTube for the discovery process. We see it here on the right that they're much more, this indicates that they're significantly more likely to use these ways to discover furniture. Now, why are people buying furniture, right? I always thought maybe it was like they must be moving, but really the top reason why these people are buying furniture is something broke and they need to fix it. And we see that especially with those people who purchase sort of that lower end of $500 to $900. What's interesting is out with the old, in with the new. That is the mentality of those who are willing to spend a lot more on furniture. That 2.5K plus or more with furniture. They're also more likely to go in store to purchase it with that attitude as well. So that's kind of a fun one to understand. It's not, for smaller pieces or items, it's broken. For that, like those people who are going to be spending, they want to go and really it's sort of like they want some new style, new inspiration in there. So let's talk about needs, motivations, and pain points. Not surprisingly, quality is what matters most. And then product style and design is sort of secondary in there. And that's particularly very important for those who are 50 plus. Now, what are they most worried about, right? And this is actually really interesting here. So quality, which we just spoke about, but affordability, price is secondary. But what I'm more interested in here is the fourth worry, which is it might not fit in space, right? That's an interesting thing, and that's especially really really critical with those, and voh is value of home. Value of a home that is 500K plus, which they say 19% are worried that it might not fit into their space. So that's a critical issue, because price and affordability will always rise to the top. But this is sort of the second one. So this is a big driver of anxiety. And this is something that we really need to pay attention to. And then another thing that they worry about, along with fitting a size, is visualization. 62% say it is a challenge to visualize how furniture will look in their home. And as a result, those individuals who feel challenged are really interested in tools to view it in to view the furniture in a 3D perspective that looks like a home. Now, I'm going to go back to the first slide where it said, people go in store and then they want to go online for something, but in actuality, they may not do it. But what's the reason why they're like, yes, let's shop online? You know, people, money, price, affordability, big topics today, in this day and age and economy. And what's really driving that is that they feel that if they go online, they could get free shipping and better prices. So those are the top two drivers of why they go online. So if you're an in-store only, there might be things that if you want to sort of combat the online, one of the things you could think about is shipping, because that's a real draw of why people sort of look in store and then go online. And what we see is that's particularly very big among the audience that's age 50 plus. So let's talk about the role of 3D and visualization tools. So, what are people's expectations? Now that there are 3D visualization shopping tools available, right? This day and age, there's lots of technology. And so 53% say they expect to have visualization tools ready for them to see how it looks in a space. And they also feel that they need that as well because it'll make them feel confident before spending. And these are really the hybrid shoppers feel these way for both those attitudes completely. And also 38% say that they want to be able to view every color, fabric, and size with the 3D visualization. And they don't want to, and then followed by they want to avoid guessing matching styles. And what's really important is 87. So that means the majority of people feel this way, that it's important to view images of products in the exact color pattern and size. So people don't want to just see a product and then like you hold the swab next to it or try to guess what it is. They really want to be able to, they expect to in this day and age to be able to really see what it's going to look like in how they want to purchase it. And this is particularly, and then those who say that they're they're even more interested in 3D tools, 3D road room planners, and those who say it's a challenge to visualize. And then we said to them that they would be satisfied and they'd be receptive. 82 would be receptive for online shopping if they saw photos or 3D images reflecting how the furniture looked. And what's really important is that we then showed them a video of a 3D planner and we said to them, what's really important for you? What is really important to help you visualize the attributes? And three-quarters said they really wanted to see um, images rotated in a 360 degree so they can inspect it in all angles. And they also wanted the ability to, see, as we mentioned before, they want the exact color, material, details, because they want to know what they're ordering, not just guesstimate what it's going to look like. So those were the two things, followed by, closely zooming in on details is really important. And about a half even said they wanted to augment reality to kind of see what the furniture would look like in their own space. What's interesting also is, and just to go over here, if we look on the right hand side about ability to configure in those exact colors, materials, and details, that is critical for those who are spending more than 2.5K. So that's really important. They say it's 76%. The hybrid shopper says that as well. So those are really, if for those big shoppers, those people who are making a long decision journey, really investigating and researching it, they really want to see what they're going to buy before purchasing it. And what people say about 3D is that 3D gives them more control of their purchasing decision. And that's particularly really for that age 35 to 49, really believe in that as well. And they want to see, and those for especially for high cost purchases, they want to see 3D first. And even over two-thirds say that they want to have 3D for all of their purchases. Then we ask them about 3D visualization and configuration. They want to know that they want to use it. About 65%, as we said, two-thirds want to use it whenever they're shopping for furniture. And then we see that for those who are these hybrid shoppers, which is sort of the main shoppers of today, those who are age 35 to 49, as well as those who are challenged visually into seeing what their furniture would look like. And then we do see that over half say that retailers who do not use 3D tools are falling behind. And this is particularly among that same age group of 35 to 49, right? That's those critical, probably first home buyers, a lot of furniture. We see that with males as well are much more likely to it. Really see it as sort of you're a laggard if you do not have some of these tools. So let's talk about in-store interactions. Now, those who shop in store in the last 6 months, 87% said that they did interact with the salesperson. And the importance of the salesperson, if it was a smaller buy between the 599, there was slightly less, about 23% said they didn't interact. But those who spent 2.5K or more, 94%, so almost virtually all said they interacted with the salesperson. So it's really critical to know that if you're going to have a big high purchase product, you want to interact with a salesperson before buying. Now, thankfully, all your salespeople have gotten high marks. 91% say it's a positive experience. They say they're knowledgeable and helpful and friendly. Only about 9% said it was a negative experience, but rushed, aggressive, clueless, awkward, unpleasant. So but we're going to go into it a little more detail to understand about salespeople and understanding this process a little bit more. Now, of those who interacted with a salesperson, 64% said that they used some sort of tool or visualization. And out of that, typically, most said it was, a mock-up, swatches, maybe like went through the website. Only 30% said, unlike online, where, there are a lot of visualization tools, only about 30 said that they used the 3D visualization software to sort of arrange and visualize how the furniture looked. But of those who did use it, 96% said of those who use those 3D tools with that salesperson, 96% said that it improved the whole experience of the purchasing. And two-thirds say that, of everyone said, salesperson people will do a better job if they did have 3D tools. And so that's something that's really critical. And this was particularly men said this, the hybrid shopper said that, people who are challenged visually, picturing how the room would look, they said that as well. So that's something really critical. There's a real big opportunity to move from basically a swatch or like coloring and website to an actual 3D tool really has a huge opportunity here. And this is where we could really see this opportunity happening here. And if we look down here, we ask them, right? When we ask them if they were satisfied or dissatisfied, did you use a visualization tool? And what we see is everything's sort of the same until it comes to a 3D visualization tool. And we see that those who were dissatisfied, only 7% used a 3D visualization tool. But of those who were satisfied, 21% said that they used a visualization tool. So that shows you, and it's significant. So it means that those who did use a 3D visualization tool were significantly more satisfied. And here we show it one more time in a little bit of different way. We ask them, comparing those who used a 3D visualization tool versus those who didn't. We see that satisfaction was 74% were very satisfied versus 56% who didn't use a 3D visualization tool. We also see that those who used a 3D visualization tool spent more money Look at that, 55% versus 33%. And then we saw that salespeople said it was very helpful, like the salesperson was helpful and knowledgeable. We saw that 84% who used a 3D visualization tool versus 58%. So there definitely is an impact. And it really shows you that the 3D tools help boost the sales experience, help improve spending and satisfaction, and how they perceive the salesperson. And what we also see here is that we asked them, would it have made a difference for those who didn't have it? That would a visualization, would it have improved the experience? And 47% said yes, it would definitely improve it a great deal, quite a bit of improvement if they did have a 3D tool. So let's go into the 3D room planner. So we see that in the 3D room planner, we had about 33% said that that they had used a 3D room planner as part of their purchasing process. This was much more of younger audience, so 43% of the younger audience, males, and that more hybrid in-store online shopper were much more likely to have used a 3D room planner tool. And we asked them how the 3D tools influence their decision, and really it said that they were most likely said it helped me mix and match more confidently, and it made them, and about 32% said it also made them discover new styles that they would not have considered beforehand. And then we also had a few more things that they said, sort of attitudes about 3D tools. We saw that they were more confident in their decision. They were excited about how the space would look, 46%. They felt more in control with something we saw, and they were less stressed out. And about even over 1/3 had said that they're more inspired to decorate the rest of their space. What's interesting here, again, I want to point out that excited about the space looks. We saw that people who spent 2.5K or more, 58% said that. So it became much more when they were spending a little bit more, using that 3D tool really helped draw excitement with those who were the larger spenders who were using more share of the wallet. So we asked people who did use a 3D planner what was their experience. And we asked them, did you purchase all, some, nothing? So what we actually found out is that those who used the 3D planner tool purchased at least some of the products. Only 2% said they didn't purchase anything. So we see about almost 2/3 said they purchased at least some of their products, and about 29% said that they purchased everything using a 3D tool. So we asked them if you could tell us a little bit about your experience using a 3D planner. And some of the things that it really helped with the visualization and furniture in the space. One quote said, I thought it was incredibly helpful and let me get an idea of how everything would fit and lay in the room. It helped me visualize how the furniture would fit into my space and where the color and the material was a good fit. It helped improve the decision and made them more confident. Very helpful for visualizing, customizing, and making the purchase decision with confidence. It made my decision much easier to narrow down my original options. So, really help visualize, that challenge that people mentioned about difficulty visualizing, helping them, that fear of making sure it fit into your space. This sort of eases that fear as well. 83% said that the furniture matched their expectations when they used the 3D room planner. So let's go into now a 3D product configuration. So this has a much higher percentage of usage. 72% said that they, so 72% said that they customize the furniture that they purchase. So, it's not just, one size fits all anymore. People really are customizing. In particular, we see, not surprisingly, color is the biggest part of customization, followed by fabrics and then size. And then you get really to like the little nuanced details, about 20% who say leg style, or armrest were things that were customized as well. And then we saw that those who used a 3D configurator, 39% had used one. So 4 in 10 had used one. And those people, again, were much more likely to be in that age 25 to 34, which I said, first time home buyers or, having their first kid. These are sort of those people in that life stage. And then we saw that they are, again, that hybrid furniture shopper who really does their process in store and online. So that multi-channel process, that it becomes almost half or 47% who say that. And again, what they do say about 3D configurators, I won't read everything, but ease of use. And it was very simple, but yet intuitive way to visualize exactly the choices I want. And they really talk about the customization. It allowed me to customize what I wanted. And really, it helps it really is helpful to have a configurator. And I joke around, it says here 80% between very helpful and extremely, but if we add in moderately helpful, it's almost virtually all, 95%. No one said that a configurator isn't helpful. And then interest. Now, would they be interested for those who didn't use it, would they be interested in using it in the future? And 58% of those who didn't use one said, yes, I'm very interested or extremely interested. Again, if you put those who are moderately interested into it as well, you're getting to almost 80% of people. So almost the majority say that their interest, only 3% say that they have no interest at all, which is almost no one. So you definitely have a high interest, not just among those who use the product, but those who haven't used it yet definitely have interest in this type of product. So we want to know, how did your final purchase compare to what you originally planned? And so we asked them for how much did they buy, and when they interacted overall, people said they bought 74% said they bought exactly what they wanted, versus 21% who said they bought more. When they went to the salesperson, it went up slightly, from 21 to 23%. When they used a room planner, we see that it even went up higher. So they bought more than they expected, was up 26%. Used the configurator, we see that bought more than expected. We saw 31%. Those who did not use any 3D, that number bought more than planned, was only 17%. So we definitely see that these tools really help people be more confident with their purchases. It makes them more willing to spend a little bit more because they get to see how everything looks and what is needed, and they sort of maybe go beyond their budget when they could visualize it better. And this is just a few things regarding the profile of, types of furniture purchased, if they used a 3D versus didn't use a 3D. We see that mattresses are here a little bit more for 3D. We see lighting, bedroom furniture is huge, outdoor furniture, dining room, home entertainment, sectionals. These were all more for use. We see didn't use, for smaller things like home decor, they might not necessarily use a 3D tool. We also said, how much furniture did you purchase? And we see that if they bought a 3D tool, it was 5.1. If they didn't buy, it was 4.2. So you almost bought one more piece of furniture if you used 3D tool. We also see that those who are more of this hybrid, this is the ideal way, longer sort of life cycle decision process when you're doing both online and in stores. They tend to buy more products as well. And amount spent. This is sort of the breakout of what we saw for the amount spent. And we saw once you get to the 25K to 49K, we see that they're more likely to interact with a salesperson, that hybrid, for lower numbers, like that under 25K or less, we see it's much more online. And then the 5,000K plus, we see it definitely with those who have a house a value of home, which is 500K plus. And this is sort of we show it by like like the rooms that they purchased. So you can see here, how they purchased it based off of the room that they were buying for. And that is really it. The rest is sort of a profile of the consumers, what they looked like. But we could definitely, I'm going to stop sharing here. But what you could definitely see here is that tools and technology to help people visualize helps them feel more confident in their purchases, and they're much more likely to spend more, buy more products. If they are confident with decision, it also helps with the salesperson. It makes the salesperson seem even more helpful, helps them spend more money with the salesperson. So it's really interesting to see how technology can be used in an online or offline setting to really help the customer with their sales process. So now I'm going to leave this off to you for any questions that people may have.
Well, right now, we don't have any questions, but I'm going to ask a question. What was most surprising to you? What was the most surprising finding in the research?
Um, I think really seeing, I understand the online process, right? Because when you're online, you don't have a salesperson, no one's there to help you. But really understanding the sales process, and while they're happy with salespeople and they really like the salespeople, how much the online tools sort of drive that the spend, which was really like a fun, exciting thing to see. And that it really can help the salespeople really improve the process.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting also. It's not really either or one is better than the other. It's like bringing all of these elements together is what creates the recipe for supercharging sales.
Yeah, and like the one thing to look at, and what's really key here is that no one's like, people aren't typically an online shopper or an in-store shopper. There's so many different components in the process, and people are looking for inspiration on Pinterest, Instagram, maybe TikTok, and all these different places. And there's so much stuff coming into their head, and I think there's sort of this information overload that's happening to people. And I think I think like a tool helps you sort of figure out that you have like so many different things. How can I sort of make it easier on me? Because I think sometimes in today's world, there's just too much out there for you to like digest.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a trend toward customers trying to come up with their own ideas using AI and using these other inputs, but the products that they're creating don't represent real viable products. So they can take a picture they made into the store, but the store won't have that exact specific thing, and they don't really know if it fits into the space. So it's been really interesting to watch as AI tools have kind of become commonplace inspiration or sources of inspiration. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, but there was an interesting question that somebody asked, which I think is a good question for next year, but wasn't in this data. And those of you who are store owners or operators have definitely seen this. But someone asked, do you know how many people are accessing the store website while they are in the store? Probably everybody. Has anyone seen that? Of course, everybody has. I've done it myself. I'm guilty. All right. Well, if there's no further questions, we'll close the webinar. Thank you so much for your time today. You'll get a follow-up email with a link to the research in it. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. My email address is Sonia, Sonia, @3dcloud.com. Thank you so much and
Right.
have a great week. Bye-bye.